Have you ever walked into your kitchen and felt something was off? Not because it's messy, not because it's too small, but because the space just didn't feel like it was supporting you. Maybe you couldn't explain it, but deep down you sensed it. This room, the place where you nourish yourself and your loved ones, was quietly affecting your energy, your focus, and maybe even your finances. What if the way your kitchen is arranged was actually holding you back? This isn't about superstition. It's about design, energy, and subtle choices. It's about how your space reflects your life and shapes it in return. In this video, we'll explore 10 subtle kitchen design mistakes that may be disrupting the energy in your home and how to gently shift them. These are small things. Most people overlook them, but they carry big symbolism and can ripple into real change when you bring intention to them. If you've been feeling stuck, scattered, or like abundance just isn't flowing the way it should, this might be the reset you need, because your kitchen isn't just where you cook. It's where energy gathers. It's where daily rituals take shape. It's where family energy forms and finances take root. And when that energy is blocked or imbalanced, it shows up everywhere else. So today we're going to look at what's silently shaping your environment. What might be draining your energy, your wealth, and your peace of mind, and how to turn it around using practical and beautiful solutions inspired by Feng Shui. And if you find value in insights like this, I gently invite you to like this video, share it with someone who might resonate, and subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. Your support helps this channel grow and reach more people who care about living with clarity, beauty, and intention. I'm on the path to reaching our first 1,000 subscribers, and every small act of support truly means the world. So take a deep breath, look around your kitchen. This isn't about redesigning your space overnight, it's about reconnecting with it. Let's begin. Section 1, Symbols of Growth and Prosperity. 1. Rice stalks. At first glance, a bundle of dried rice stalks might seem like a humble decoration. Simple, rustic, perhaps even overlooked in its quiet presence. But within many traditional cultures, especially throughout Asia, rice isn't just a crop. It's a symbol, a legacy, a sacred link between the land and life itself. Rice, in essence, is the product of labor, patience, cooperation with nature, and ultimately, abundance. In Feng Shui and other energy-based philosophies, dried rice stalks are considered powerful representations of prosperity, not simply because rice feeds the body, but because it symbolizes the reward of consistent effort. In many villages throughout East Asia, people hang rice stalks in their homes or above their doorways, not as mere decor, but as an intentional reminder of the blessings that come from cultivation. These aren't quick wins or strokes of luck. They're earned, sustained, and appreciated. Reinterpreting this through a modern, mindful lens, rice stalks can be seen less as a lucky charm and more as a totem of gratitude. They are physical representations of life's harvest, be it financial, emotional, creative, or spiritual. And unlike flashy symbols of wealth, rice stalks whisper a quieter, deeper message. True abundance is grown, not gifted. Let's think about what it takes to grow rice. The process is long and meticulous. Fields must be flooded, monitored, drained, and cultivated at just the right times. It takes cooperation with weather patterns, commitment over months, and trust in the natural cycles of time and growth. In many ways, that process mirrors our own personal journeys. Whether we're building a business, nurturing a relationship, or pursuing a creative path, we too must plant seeds, tend to them daily, and wait patiently for the harvest. That's why placing rice stalks in your home isn't just about attracting money. It's about recognizing the abundance already present and aligning your energy with what you're actively cultivating. Positioning them near the entryway to your home serves a dual purpose. On one hand, it creates an energetic invitation, welcoming the vibration of prosperity into your space. On the other hand, it becomes a visual reminder, each time you pass by, to stay rooted in gratitude and to honor the journey you're on. The significance of rice as a symbol runs deep across cultures. In Japan, rice is connected to Inari, the deity of fertility, harvest, and prosperity. In Thailand, it's believed that rice has a spirit of its own. Mai Po Sop, the rice mother, who must be honored with respect. In India, rice is offered in countless religious rituals, symbolizing blessing, nourishment, and sacred value. And across all these interpretations, the message is consistent. Rice is life. Rice is sustenance. Rice is sacred. This sacredness is why rice stalks, though dried and humble in appearance, carry immense energetic weight. They are the dried result of a cycle complete. When you display a bundle of rice stalks, you're not displaying wealth in the sense of flashy success. You're honoring completion. You're acknowledging that what you've worked for is coming to fruition, that your patience has value, that your discipline is sacred, that your quiet work is enough. From a psychological perspective, these small, symbolic representations matter. In mindfulness practice, we learn that the environment shapes the mind. Visual cues influence emotion. What we surround ourselves with subtly affects how we feel and what we believe to be possible. When you bring in symbols of harvest and prosperity, like rice stalks, you're reinforcing a mental framework that says, abundance is present. I am in alignment with growth. I am safe to receive. And this message is especially important in today's culture of urgency and pressure. In a world obsessed with fast results and overnight success, rice stalks remind us that slow, steady cultivation is the path to lasting reward. They tell us that it's okay not to have everything now. They whisper, it's working, even if you don't see it yet. In Feng Shui, rice stalks are sometimes placed in the wealth corner of a home, often the far left corner from the entrance. But they can also be placed near areas where effort is regularly exerted, such as a home office or study area. Their presence enhances the flow of productive, grounded energy. It supports focus and patience, which are necessary ingredients for meaningful growth. What's especially meaningful is how universal this symbol is. You don't need to follow any specific cultural tradition to understand the value of a harvest. We all know what it feels like to work towards something, whether it's saving money, healing a relationship, or finishing a long-term project. And we all know the satisfaction of seeing something come full circle. Rice stalks, in their quiet golden beauty, speak to that human experience. There's also a sensory quality to dried rice stalks that adds to their grounding effect. They carry the natural scent of earth and grain. Their texture is both coarse and delicate. Their movement in the air is subtle but alive. These elements engage the senses in a gentle way, reminding us to stay present, to notice the small things, to appreciate the material world as a reflection of the internal world. Furthermore, rice stalks are sustainable and biodegradable. From an eco-conscious standpoint, they align with principles of mindful consumption and respect for the environment. Incorporating them into your space is an act of honoring not just abundance, but the earth that produces it. In short, the inclusion of rice stalks in a mindful home isn't about superstition. It's about symbolism. It's about intention. It's about choosing to surround yourself with objects that reflect the values you want to live by: patience, gratitude, diligence, and trust. So whether you live in a high-rise apartment, a suburban home, or a small studio, consider adding this simple but profound item into your space, not as decoration, but as declaration. A declaration that says, I value what I grow, I trust the process, and I welcome the harvest. In the end, the rice stalks don't create abundance. You do, but they remind you that it's already on its way and that your daily effort matters more than you know. 2. Lucky bamboo. At first glance, a stalk of lucky bamboo might seem like just another trendy indoor plant. Green, neat, low maintenance. You see it in office buildings, cafes, or gifted on birthdays with a little red ribbon tied around its stems. But lucky bamboo, beyond its decorative appeal, carries a much deeper energy when approached with mindfulness. In the context of home energy and symbolic space curation, it becomes more than just a plant. It becomes a living, breathing affirmation of persistence. There's something almost poetic about the way lucky bamboo grows. Unlike many plants that need ideal soil conditions or temperate climates, lucky bamboo is not demanding. It grows in water. It survives under fluorescent light. It thrives in small containers. This quality alone makes it an ideal symbol of adaptability. In life, we're often placed in less than ideal circumstances, navigating uncertainty and challenge. But like lucky bamboo, we too can learn to root ourselves in unexpected environments, rising with grace despite the odds. This is why I personally see lucky bamboo as a metaphor for resilience, a plant that stands tall not because it's in the perfect place, but because it has learned how to thrive wherever it's planted. From a Feng Shui perspective, lucky bamboo is associated with prosperity, vitality, and growth. But its deeper message speaks to the qualities that actually lead to those outcomes: flexibility, patience, and grounded strength. Feng Shui practitioners often recommend placing it in the wealth area of your home or near your workspace, particularly where decisions are made. The reason is simple. Your energy in those moments needs to be calm but strong, adaptable but focused. Lucky bamboo supports that by holding a presence that is both steady and alive. And there's another layer to this. Bamboo doesn't just bend, it bends and returns. It doesn't break easily. It withstands pressure from wind, weight, even drought. It has this quiet, unassuming power that reminds us of the kind of strength we need more of in our lives. Not the loud, forceful kind, but the kind that holds on in silence. The kind that remains rooted even when shaken. When you look at lucky bamboo daily, especially when you place it near your desk or where important conversations take place, it becomes a mirror. It reflects back your own journey, your ability to move through uncertainty, your persistence in pursuing your goals, your quiet resilience. And unlike an abstract motivational quote on a wall, this one grows. It changes. It responds to how you care for it. That's an essential point. One of the most overlooked aspects of lucky bamboo, and one of the most transformative, is its requirement for care. It doesn't need much, but it does need consistency. Clean water, occasional trimming, a touch of light. If you forget about it completely, it wilts. If the water becomes cloudy or stale, it tells you. And in that way, lucky bamboo becomes an energetic feedback system. It teaches you about your own flow, your attentiveness, your ability to stay consistent even with small rituals. In a broader sense, maintaining a healthy bamboo plant parallels maintaining a healthy mindset. When you care for it, you're not just keeping a plant alive. You're practicing a micro habit of presence. You're reinforcing a message that abundance requires attention, and that growth responds to consistency. That's what I love most about it. It connects the spiritual with the practical. It's not just symbolic, it's instructive. There's also a numerological layer associated with lucky bamboo. In Chinese tradition, the number of stalks carries different meanings. 2 stalks for love and partnership, 3 stalks for happiness, 5 stalks for health, 8 stalks for wealth and abundance, 9 stalks for overall good fortune. While you don't have to obsess over the number of stalks, choosing a number that resonates with your current intention can create a deeper connection between you and the plant. Let's say you're in a season of rebuilding your health after burnout. Placing a 5-stalk bamboo plant on your kitchen counter can serve as a visual anchor for your healing journey. Or maybe you're launching a business. 8 stalks in your home office can subtly remind you of the growth you're inviting. And let's not ignore the aesthetic beauty of lucky bamboo. Its spiral shapes, often formed with deliberate twisting during its early growth, are not just decorative. They symbolize upward movement, creative flow, and dynamic energy. When placed with intention, they can visually lift the energy of a corner or shelf, breaking up stagnation and encouraging movement in your personal or professional life. One of the more powerful insights I've had is that lucky bamboo isn't about luck at all. At least not in the Western definition of luck as randomness or chance. It's about alignment. Alignment between your intentions and your environment, between your aspirations and your daily actions. Lucky bamboo doesn't guarantee success, but it nurtures the kind of internal and external space where success becomes more likely. That's a subtle but important difference. People often ask me, what's the best way to invite more prosperity or energy into my life? And my answer is always the same. Start with one thing, one space, one habit. Let it reflect the life you want to live. And lucky bamboo is a beautiful, living starting point. You don't need to redesign your entire home or learn the complexities of Feng Shui to make a difference. Sometimes it's just about placing one vibrant green stalk in a neglected corner and watering it every day with care and intention. That's the beauty of symbolic objects like this. They don't speak loudly, but they speak truth. They don't fix your life, but they support your focus. They don't demand your energy, but they quietly elevate it if you're paying attention. So if you're in a season of reinvention, growth, or simply trying to stay grounded in a fast-moving world, consider bringing lucky bamboo into your space. Let it remind you that strength isn't rigidity, that persistence is beautiful, and that your environment can be a partner in your progress, if you allow it to be. In the presence of lucky bamboo, may you find more than just a plant. May you find a symbol of your resilience, a witness to your unfolding, and a companion on your journey to conscious living. 3. Goldfish tank. If you've ever stood in front of a goldfish tank, watching the gentle sway of the water, the smooth movement of the fish, the play of light bouncing across their colorful scales, you already know the calm it can bring. But beyond its tranquil appearance, a goldfish tank carries powerful symbolic meaning, especially in the realm of energy design and mindful living. In traditional Feng Shui, the presence of moving water symbolizes flowing wealth, and fish represent abundance, fertility, and good fortune. When combined, the two create a moving manifestation of prosperity. A goldfish tank isn't just aesthetic, it's a visual, energetic, and emotional invitation for abundance to move through your space. But let's pause for a second and dig a little deeper. Why does movement matter so much in energetic environments? Because stagnation, whether in air, water, energy, or life, leads to blockages. In Feng Shui, stagnant spaces are considered energetically stuck. They hold old energy, trap emotion, and prevent new opportunities from flowing in. And wealth, like water, needs to move. It needs to circulate. It needs space to breathe and channels to follow. A goldfish tank, with its ever-shifting surface, subtle sounds, and continuous life force, is a direct remedy for stuckness. That's why I personally see a goldfish tank not just as a decor item, but as a symbol of dynamic prosperity. It's a living reminder that abundance is not a fixed state. It's fluid. It requires motion. It responds to how you nurture mud. Now let's talk practically. You don't need a huge aquarium or an elaborate fish setup. Even a modest, well-maintained goldfish bowl or a small corner tank can carry the same energetic impact if approached with care and intention. Some people may choose to keep a single goldfish, while others may prefer a group, often 3, 6, or 9 fish, which are considered auspicious numbers in Feng Shui. The number isn't as important as the meaning you attach to it. Placement also matters. In energy mapping, placing your goldfish tank in the southeast corner of your home or workspace, the area traditionally associated with wealth and abundance, can enhance the energy of flow and prosperity. But more than location, it's the presence of the tank that matters. When it's active, clean, and cared for, it sends a powerful signal to your subconscious. Wealth is moving, life is vibrant, I am in flow. But let's not limit this to goldfish alone. The deeper energy at play here is the water, its movement, its lightness, its sound. So if maintaining a tank of live fish isn't your style or seems overwhelming, you can still incorporate the essence of this symbol in creative, personal ways. A desktop water fountain can bring in that same sense of movement and freshness. The soft trickling sound becomes white noise for your thoughts, calming, centering, even meditative. It invites presence, and energetically it keeps things flowing. Or maybe it's a mini glass terrarium with aquatic plants. Even without fish, the play of light through water and green elements represents life in motion. In my own home, I've kept a small bowl of water with Marimo moss balls and a few smooth stones on my kitchen counter. It's effortless to maintain, and every time I pass by, I feel a sense of grounded fluidity, like I'm tending not just to the space, but to the flow of ideas, money, and well-being in my life. What's most important in any of these variations is that the water is fresh and alive. That's where the magic lies. Stale, murky water is the energetic equivalent of procrastinated decisions, ignored finances, or unresolved clutter. But clear, moving water is about momentum. It reflects clarity of thought, emotional release, and openness to new opportunities. From a mindfulness perspective, the act of maintaining a water element like a fish tank becomes a mini ritual of care. Feeding the fish, changing the water, watching them swim. And all of these moments pull you into the present. They reconnect you with the idea that your environment is a mirror, and that what you tend to outside can reinforce what you're working toward inside. Let me share a personal story. A friend of mine going through a long period of financial stress was advised to bring more water energy into her workspace. She wasn't into aquariums, but she agreed to try a small glass tank with 3 goldfish. She placed it near her desk, where she managed her bills and work from home tasks. In the beginning, she treated it as just another thing to try. But over time, her relationship to the tank changed. She found herself sitting longer at her desk, feeling more focused. She noticed that she felt lighter while planning her budget. And oddly enough, she started getting more freelance gigs, unexpected ones from contacts she hadn't heard from in years. Was it magic? Maybe not. But energetically, she had shifted from avoidance to engagement. The tank was her anchor, something in her environment that gently reminded her to stay in the stream, not on the bank. That's the power of these subtle symbols. When chosen mindfully, they don't just decorate a space, they shift how we feel inside of it. They remind us that prosperity is a process, not a moment. That flow is more powerful than force. And that sometimes the softest elements, like water, have the strongest effect on our lives. If you're thinking of bringing this energy into your own space, here are a few mindful reminders. Choose quality over quantity. A small, healthy tank is more beneficial than a large, unkempt one. Keep the water clear. Let it reflect your own clarity. Place it where you'll see it daily, especially in areas associated with money, decision-making, or creativity. And most importantly, treat it as a relationship. Give it attention. Let it be a living part of your environment, whether it's goldfish gliding through a glass bowl or a gentle stream flowing from a tabletop fountain. What matters is the energy it brings and the awareness it inspires in you. In the flow of water, we are reminded that wealth is not static. Neither is growth. Neither is peace. Everything moves. Everything evolves. Everything returns to flow when we're willing to keep it moving. So ask yourself, what in your life needs to flow again? And perhaps your answer will begin with a single ripple in a bowl of water. 4. Sailboat painting. Among the many decorative elements we bring into our homes, artwork holds a special kind of influence. More than just aesthetics, what we choose to display on our walls reflects the beliefs, desires, and emotions we want to surround ourselves with. And in the world of mindful living and space energy, few images carry as much subtle symbolic power as a sailboat gliding gracefully across calm water. Traditionally, in Feng Shui practice, a sailboat painting is believed to symbolize a smooth journey towards success, particularly financial success. But the meaning doesn't end there. When you step back and take a more conscious look at what this image truly represents, you'll begin to see that it's not just about money. It's about movement, direction, the courage to head into open water. It's about progress. Imagine this, a sailboat out at sea, its sail full of wind, moving steadily toward a destination. It isn't speeding, it isn't battling waves, it's steady, focused, and moving forward with natural momentum. That image alone brings with it a sense of calm determination, a kind of spiritual assurance that you're going where you need to go, even if you don't have the full map just yet. This is why I believe the sailboat painting's not just about wealth, but about clarity. It reminds you of your inner compass, your goals, your sense of direction, your willingness to take the journey even when the path ahead is uncertain. In many homes, artwork is often chosen purely for visual appeal. But when you choose a piece like a sailboat intentionally, when you assign it symbolic value, it becomes more than art. It becomes a visual affirmation. Every time you walk past it, you are reminded, keep going, stay steady, trust your course. But placement matters. In Feng Shui, one golden rule with sailboat imagery is that the boat should always be facing inward, not sailing away. Why? Because the boat represents incoming energy, incoming success. If it's moving outward, It can create the subtle energetic suggestion of wealth or opportunity leaving your space. But if it's facing inward, it's as though that energy is arriving, sailing right into your life, bringing new opportunities, ideas, and support with it. So if you already have a sailboat image on your wall, take a moment today to check its direction. Is it moving toward the center of your home, toward your office chair, toward where you rest or create? That simple shift could turn a passive image into a powerful energetic ally. But here's something even more exciting. You don't have to stick to sailboats. What truly matters is the symbolism of progress. So if boats aren't your style, look for any artwork that visually captures movement, direction, or expansion. Maybe it's a path leading through a forest, a bird in mid-flight, a road disappearing into the horizon, or even a dancer in motion. As long as it evokes forward movement in your body or mind, it can be just as energetically potent as a sailboat. The key is choosing art that aligns with your current phase of life. If you're in a season of rebuilding, recovering, or starting fresh, a calm image of a boat just leaving the dock might reflect that early stage energy. If you're actively working toward big goals or building momentum, a boat in full sail heading toward shore might be the image that mirrors your inner rhythm. Personally, I once had a large canvas of a sailboat hanging in my workspace. The colors were muted, gray, soft blue, white, and the composition was open. The boat faced inward toward my desk. It wasn't flashy, but every time I sat down to write, pitch, or make a decision, it gave me a strange, almost comforting sense that I was being supported. Like something was on its way, like I wasn't alone in the journey. And it's funny, when I later moved apartments and left that painting behind, I noticed something. My sense of direction and focus took a hit. I didn't connect the dots at first, but after a few weeks of feeling a little foggy, I hung a new image in its place. This time, a misty mountain road stretching into the distance. Almost instantly, I felt more grounded again. Not because the art had magic, but because the image reflected what I needed to remember. That I was going somewhere, even if I couldn't see the summit yet. This is the hidden beauty of mindful visual design. When we intentionally choose what we see every day, we're feeding our subconscious with cues, reminders of who we are becoming, where we're going, and what we value. A sailboat painting isn't just about decor, it's about narrative in Carbone. It tells the story of momentum. And let's not forget the water element in this imagery. Water in energetic symbolism is about flow, emotion, adaptability. The sea beneath the boat is never static. It moves, it breathes, it shifts, and yet the boat sails on. That duality of movement beneath and clarity above is the perfect metaphor for navigating life. We don't control the tides, but we do choose our direction. From a psychological standpoint, these images also help activate what neuroscientists call mental priming. When your brain sees visuals associated with progress, your thoughts and decisions start to follow that theme. You're more likely to approach tasks with focus, to persist when faced with obstacles, and to feel hopeful about the future. That's not woo-woo, that's the subconscious mind doing its job. So whether you're working toward a promotion, building a new routine, healing from a past chapter, or stepping into something entirely unfamiliar, ask yourself, what image reflects this moment for me? What artwork can I place on my wall that will remind me every day that I'm moving towards something good? It might be a sailboat. It might be a train, a river, a sunrise, or even a single arrow drawn on paper. What matters most is that it points forward and that you feel something shift in you when you look at it, because that's how we create mindful spaces, not by filling them with trends, but by filling them with intention. So take a walk through your home today. Notice what's on your walls. Ask yourself what those images are saying to your mind, to your body, to your goals. And if you feel ready, consider placing an image of movement, direction, or calm momentum in a spot you see often. Let it guide you like a sailboat on steady water toward the future you're quietly building, one intentional step at a time. Section 2. Objects that shift energy and invite clarity. Wind chimes, sound as a cleansing tool. Among all the elements you can add to a mindful space, Sound is perhaps the most invisible, and yet the most emotionally impactful. We often think of creating a peaceful environment in terms of what we can see: clean surfaces, soothing colors, warm lighting. But what about what we hear? That's where wind chimes come in, not just as charming garden accessories or nostalgic decorations, but as quiet, powerful tools for mental clarity and energetic cleansing. In traditional Feng Shui, wind chimes are used to redirect or disperse stagnant or negative energy. But when we strip it down to its core, wind chimes aren't just about shifting energy in space. They're also about shifting energy in us, because sound, when repeated and harmonious, has the ability to recalibrate the nervous system. Think about it. Why do we meditate with bells or singing bowls? Why do so many spiritual practices across cultures incorporate chants, gongs, or mantras? Because sound isn't just an auditory experience, it's vibrational. It affects the way we feel, physically, emotionally, even spiritually. The sound of wind chimes is gentle, unpredictable, and always moving. Unlike a playlist or a timer, it doesn't follow a rhythm. It dances with the breeze. That unpredictability creates micro moments of presence. Every time the chimes move, they call your awareness back, gently saying, "Hey, be here now." You're reminded without force to pause and reset. It's like nature's version of a mindfulness bell. Personally, I didn't pay much attention to wind chimes until a few years ago when I moved into a new apartment. My neighbor upstairs had a small set of chimes hanging outside their window. On quiet evenings or early mornings, I'd hear them lightly singing in the breeze. At first, I didn't think much of it, but over time, I started to notice something. I was sleeping better, deeper. My thoughts felt less cluttered. My morning meditations felt clearer. Coincidence? Maybe. But I couldn't deny the connection between the subtle sound and the shift in how I felt in that space. So I decided to hang a set of my own, just a small chime near my bedroom window. And ever since then, it's become one of the most grounding sounds in my life. Not loud, not flashy, but consistent in its gentle reminder to breathe, to be, to come home to myself. From a Feng Shui perspective, wind chimes are often placed near entrances or windows, areas where energy, or qi, enters and circulates. Just as a doormat physically catches dirt from shoes, wind chimes are thought to vibrationally catch lingering or misaligned energy before it enters too deeply into your space. They shake it loose, transform it, so the energy that flows through your home is lighter, clearer, more harmonious. But even outside of Feng Shui, there's a scientific resonance here. Sound therapy is increasingly being studied for its therapeutic effects. Tones, especially those produced by metal or tuned chimes, are shown to lower cortisol levels, regulate breathing, and improve mental focus. In a sense, wind chimes become a kind of passive sound therapy. You don't need to sit down for a session. You don't need to press play. The moment the wind moves, so does the clarity. There's also an emotional association we carry with wind chimes. For many, they trigger memories of safety, childhood, or being in nature. These emotional responses matter. When an object evokes a positive state of mind, it becomes an anchor, a cue that tells the nervous system, you're safe, you're supported, you can soften now. That's why wind chimes can be so effective when placed in emotionally or energetically heavy areas. Maybe it's the hallway near your front door where tension tends to collect, or outside a workspace where you spend long hours, or even beside your meditation nook or bed. Anywhere you need a cue to let go, breathe deeply, and clear out mental fog. Now, of course, not all chimes are created equal. Some are bright and high-pitched, others low and mellow. Some are made of metal, others bamboo or ceramic. Each material carries its own vibration and personality. So when choosing a set of wind chimes, don't just go by how they look. Listen, close your eyes, and let your body respond. You'll know which sound resonates with you, and that resonance is the sound your space and your spirit might be craving. Wind chimes also carry a beautiful duality. They're passive yet powerful. They don't require effort from you. They don't demand your attention, but they do shift your awareness moment by moment, breath by breath. In a way, they teach the same lesson mindfulness teaches us, that gentle repetition, done with presence, creates lasting change. Some days, when I feel stuck, mentally foggy, energetically blocked, I'll open my window just enough to let the breeze in, and within a few seconds I hear the soft tinkling tones of the chimes. I don't even have to stop what I'm doing. Just hearing them brings me back. My shoulders relax, my thoughts untangle. The room feels different, lighter, as if the stale energy just got swept out, making space for something new. In that way, wind chimes are like energetic brooms, clearing, softening, refreshing. So if your space has been feeling stagnant or cluttered, not in a physical sense, but in an emotional or mental one, try bringing in wind chimes. Let sound do the clearing. Let vibration do the work. Let stillness be reawakened through movement. And if you're skeptical, that's okay too. You don't have to believe in energy flow or Feng Shui to enjoy the benefits of sound. Just notice how you feel the next time the wind moves through the chimes. Let your body tell you what it knows, beyond logic, beyond theory. Because sometimes the smallest sounds carry the biggest shifts. And maybe, just maybe, that subtle music in the background is exactly what your space and your soul has been waiting to hear. 6. Scented candles. Olfactory energy reset. If sight is the first sense that connects us to our environment, then smell is the one that instantly transports us inward. It reaches our emotions before our thoughts can even catch up. One subtle whiff of citrus, spice, or earthy notes, and our nervous system begins to respond, often without us realizing it. That's why when it comes to energetic alignment and mindful living, the role of scent cannot be overlooked. And scented candles, with their ambient glow and aromatic presence, serve as one of the most elegant tools for emotional and energetic reset. Lighting a candle may seem like a simple act, but when paired with intention, it becomes a ritual. A scented candle isn't just decor, it's a signal, a cue to your body and mind that something is shifting, that now is a time to focus, to soften, to receive. It marks a transition from chaos to calm, from distraction to presence. And when chosen wisely, the scent itself does more than just please the nose. It influences the energy of the entire space. Let's break it down from a psychological perspective. The olfactory system, the part of the brain responsible for processing smell, is closely linked to the limbic system, which regulates emotion, memory, and behavior. That's why certain scents can trigger vivid memories or instant mood shifts. You don't just smell lavender, you feel relaxed. You don't just detect orange, you feel alert and uplifted. And this is where the magic of candles comes in. By choosing specific scents, you can design your mood, your mindset, even your motivation. Let's talk specifics. Citrus scents, especially in orange and bergamot, are known to energize and invigorate. They're associated with creativity, productivity, and a sense of vitality. When you light an orange-scented candle before beginning a work session or financial task, you're priming your brain to be more alert, decisive, and motivated. The scent doesn't just freshen the room, it wakes up your intentions. On the other hand, cinnamon is deeply warming and grounding. It's a scent often tied to abundance, prosperity, and inner confidence. Lighting a cinnamon-scented candle before making decisions, especially around money or long-term planning, can provide a subtle but powerful sense of security and focus. You might not realize it immediately, but your body will. Your breath slows, your thoughts feel a little less scattered, and you begin to feel more capable, more in control of your direction. This is why many people, even without realizing it, turn to scented candles during transitions, starting the day, winding down at night, preparing for a guest, or settling in for deep work. The flame itself is symbolic, a beacon, a reminder of your presence. And when paired with scent, the candle becomes an energetic bridge between the external environment and your internal landscape. Personally, I started using scented candles not as a decorative item, but as a tool to mark sacred time. I noticed that lighting a candle before journaling or checking my finances shifted my approach completely. Instead of rushing through the task, I became more intentional. I slowed down. I became more aware of how I felt, what I was aiming for. I stopped treating these moments as chores and started honoring them as rituals. And that's the key difference: intention. Anyone can buy a candle and enjoy the smell, but when you light it with the conscious purpose of resetting your energy, the experience deepens. It becomes a practice, a statement, a commitment to engage with your time, your space, and your life more mindfully. Here's a simple daily ritual you can try. Before engaging in any task that requires focus, especially those related to finances, planning, or goal setting, pause and light a scented candle. Choose your scent with care. Orange or citrus for vitality and action. Cinnamon for confidence and wealth building. Lavender or eucalyptus for calm and mental clarity. Sit for a moment with the flame. Breathe in the scent slowly. Allow your body to adjust. Then begin your task with presence. Notice how your mindset shifts when you approach it in this way. This act doesn't just change the atmosphere, it changes you. From an energetic standpoint, candles also represent the fire element, an element associated with transformation, action, and spiritual illumination. The flame burns away stagnation. It brings light into the shadowed corners. It invites movement, both literal and symbolic. And when paired with scent, it becomes a twofold agent of change, igniting both the space and the soul. In many traditions, lighting a flame is a sacred act. Think of birthday candles, temple offerings, or meditation altars. The candle signifies more than just light. It represents hope, transition, and clarity. By incorporating this into your home or workspace, you create pockets of sacred energy, spaces where intention can thrive. It's worth noting that not all candles are created equal. Whenever possible, choose clean-burning candles made from soy, beeswax, or coconut wax with natural essential oils. Avoid synthetic fragrances or paraffin-based products which can emit toxins into the air. Remember, this is about creating clarity, not masking the space with artificial scents. Also, think about placement. A candle in the wealth corner, typically the far left area from your main entry, can amplify abundance energy. One in your workspace can boost motivation. One in your living area can foster connection and warmth. But wherever you place it, keep it visible. Let it remind you to return, to breath, to clarity, to your intention. Some people ask, can something as simple as a candle really affect my energy or productivity? And my answer is always the same. It's not about the candle. It's about how you show up in the presence of the candle. It's about what you allow it to represent. The flame is a mirror. It reflects your readiness to be present. The scent is an invitation. It asks you to soften, focus, and receive. So if your space feels dull, if your focus feels fractured, or if your energy feels scattered, don't reach for another coffee. Try a candle instead. Choose your scent like a mantra. Light it like a promise. Because when you honor your environment begins to honor you in return. And perhaps that flickering flame on your desk or kitchen counter is not just a decoration. Perhaps it's a spark, reminding you that transformation begins with a single breath, a single scent, in a single decision to show up with intention. 7. Water container, fountain, flow, and renewal. Among all the elemental symbols in Feng Shui and energetic design, water holds a particularly transformative power. It is by nature in constant motion. It cleanses, it nourishes, it adapts to any container it's placed in. It flows around obstacles, and most importantly, it renews everything it touches. Bringing a water feature into your home, a simple bowl, a ceramic container, or a small indoor fountain, is not about installing luxury decor. It's about inviting renewal. Not just of wealth and finances, which water is traditionally associated with in Feng Shui, but of energy, creativity, and clarity of thought. When most people think of water in Feng Shui, they think of prosperity. And yes, flowing water has long been seen as a metaphor for flowing income and opportunity. But what's often missed is that water also supports mental clarity and emotional release. In many cultures, standing by water, whether a river, a spring, or even a fountain, has been used as a space for contemplation, decision-making, and inspiration. Why? Because water reminds us to move forward even in uncertainty. In the modern home, a water container serves as a symbol of this principle. It represents not only financial flow, but also the flow of ideas, creative breakthroughs, emotional healing, and spiritual growth. Let's start with the basics. A water container doesn't need to be elaborate. It can be a ceramic bowl placed on a table, filled with fresh water and maybe a few floating flowers. It could be a small tabletop fountain with a gentle trickle of water offering a calming background sound. It might even be a sleek glass vessel that captures light, giving a feeling of fluid clarity in the room. The shape, size, or cost is secondary to the intention behind it. Placement, however, is key. According to traditional Feng Shui, the southeast corner of your home, or the wealth corner, is the most favorable place to add water features when your goal is abundance. That's because this area corresponds to money, growth, and prosperity. But water features can also be placed near the front entrance to attract fresh energy into the home. Just be mindful that water should be flowing inward or circulating within the space, not moving outwards or toward the door, which can symbolically push wealth and inspiration away. When positioned intentionally, a water container becomes a quiet but persistent reminder of motion. Unlike stagnant decor, water asks for interaction. It must be refilled, cleaned, or observed. This routine becomes a ritual, one that encourages mindfulness and care. As you tend to your water container, you begin to tend to your inner flow. You ask questions like, what am I holding on to that needs to be released? Or where do I need to invite more movement or change? A beautiful addition to the water container, often overlooked, is the inclusion of fresh flowers. Flowers symbolize new beginnings, creative energy, and cycles of life. When added to a bowl of water, they bring in softness, color, and a sense of rebirth. The symbolism here runs deep. Flowers bloom, fade, and fall. Water holds, nourishes, and eventually evaporates or spills. Together, they represent the dance of impermanence, an essential in both Eastern philosophy and mindful living. One of the most grounding things you can do is to build a simple morning or evening ritual around your water feature. For example, each morning you might replace the water in your bowl with fresh, cool water. As you do, silently repeat an affirmation: I welcome flow into my life, or I release what's stagnant and invite what inspires. Add a fresh flower or petal and allow it to float. Watch the ripples move outward. Observe how the clarity of the water shifts the energy in the room and in your body. You might be surprised how effective this small act can be. From a psychological standpoint, these types of rituals help build mental clarity and emotional regulation. The sound of moving water, or even the sight of still, reflective water, activates a parasympathetic response in the brain. In simple terms, it helps you relax. You move from fight or flight to rest and receive. This shift is not only beneficial for your health, but also essential for creative thinking, wise decision-making, and balanced financial planning. Many of us try to solve problems through more effort, more force, more analysis. But sometimes the answer is to soften, to listen, to clear space. And water, so simple, so ancient, has a way of teaching us that. In my own experience, I began with a small ceramic bowl placed on the corner of my desk. I filled it with filtered water and added a single calendula flower from my garden. At first, it was just beautiful to look at, but then I noticed that when I sat down to work near it, I felt more settled. Ideas came more easily. I became less distracted. And interestingly, I found that the simple act of changing the water daily gave me a built-in pause, a moment to breathe, reset, and connect to the present. That's the power of symbolic space. When we fill our environment with reminders of how we want to feel, those feelings become more accessible. A water feature doesn't just bring you money, it brings you back to yourself. Another important note, always keep your water clean. A dirty, stagnant water bowl sends the opposite message. It reflects neglect, emotional stagnation, and financial blocks. Think of water as an extension of your energy. Keep it moving, keep it fresh, and it will support you in return. You can also infuse your water with intentions. Some people write their affirmations on small pieces of waterproof paper and place them beneath the bowl. Others whisper their goals into the water as a daily practice. Water, being a receptive element, is believed in many traditions to hold the energy of words and thoughts, much like the famous studies by Dr. Masaru Emoto, who demonstrated how water crystals change form in response to different emotional inputs. Whether you take this literally or metaphorically, it's a beautiful reminder that your intentions matter. In the end, a water container or small fountain doesn't just decorate a room. It enlivens it. It becomes a soft, steady background presence that encourages you to keep moving, to keep creating, to stay open. And in a world that often feels rigid and rushed, that gentle reminder can be everything. So ask yourself, what part of your life needs renewal? Where do you need to soften? What flow are you ready to welcome in? Maybe the answer begins with a small bowl of water, placed with care, filled with clarity, intended to like a sacred part of your home and your heart. 8. Mirror energy amplifier. In mindful space design, mirrors are often treated as just functional decor. We use them to check our reflection, make rooms look larger, or add some light. But from an energetic perspective, especially in the practices of Feng Shui and spatial psychology, a mirror is much more than a decorative object. It is an amplifier, a magnifier, a revealer of energy. And because it reflects exactly what's placed in front of it, a mirror doesn't just add to your space, it duplicates it. That's why where and how you place a mirror matters just as much as what kind of mirror you choose. Let's begin with this idea. Mirrors double whatever they face. That might sound harmless at first, but think about it. If your mirror reflects a messy kitchen, a cluttered shelf, or even a closed door, it's multiplying the energetic weight of that visual. You might not consciously notice it, but your nervous system does. The visual noise increases, the stagnation expands. And that subtle sense of overwhelm that follows you around the house, it might just be bouncing off your mirror. On the other hand, when a mirror reflects something nourishing, like a bowl of fresh fruit, a beautiful window view, or a tidy, well-lit corner, it acts as a visual affirmation. It tells your subconscious there is more than enough. This is a place of peace and abundance. That's the energy we want to multiply. This is why one of the most classic Feng Shui recommendations is to place a mirror where it reflects your dining table. Why? Because the dining table traditionally represents wealth, family, and nourishment. By doubling its image, you symbolically double those energies. More food, more connection, more prosperity. It's a beautiful, low-effort way to shift the atmosphere of a room. Another powerful placement is near your workspace, specifically facing a vision board or an intentional focal point. Let's say you have a small area where you write goals, pin affirmations, or place objects that inspire your ambition. Placing a mirror near this spot helps to visually expand those intentions. It's like telling the universe, I'm ready to see this multiplied. However, the one placement you absolutely want to avoid is directly across from your front door. Energetically, the front door is the mouth of Qi. It's where energy, opportunity, and abundance enter the home. If a mirror is placed directly opposite the entrance, it's believed to bounce that energy right back out. Think of it like someone handing you a gift, and you instantly throwing it back before even opening it. That's what the mirror does in that position. From a psychological standpoint, it also creates a jarring visual effect. Walking into your home and immediately seeing a moving reflection can make the space feel less grounded, like the energy is constantly ricocheting instead of settling. So if you currently have a mirror facing your front door, don't panic, but do consider relocating it or angling it slightly so it doesn't directly oppose the entry. Even small shifts in placement can have big effects on how the space feels. Now let's talk about the types of mirrors. Shape matters. Rounded or oval mirrors are believed to soften energy, while sharp angled ones, like square or rectangular, bring more structure. Neither is inherently good or bad. It just depends on what you need. If you're trying to calm a space, go with curves. If you're trying to energize or focus a room, angular mirrors may be more suitable. Framing also plays a subtle but significant role. Mirrors with natural wood or earthy tones bring in grounding energy. Metallic or glossy frames can enhance brightness and movement. Choose one that resonates with the room's purpose. For a bedroom, soft edges and muted tones might support rest. For a creative studio or home office, a bolder frame could bring more spark and focus. There's also something deeply symbolic about the act of seeing yourself in a mirror. It's an encounter, not just with your appearance, but with your energy. And depending on where that mirror is placed, that encounter can either support your self-awareness or subtly chip away at it. Imagine this. You place a mirror next to your vision board. Every time you pass by, you not only see your intentions reflected, but you see yourself next to them. You start to internalize the idea, I am in this picture. These goals belong to me. That's powerful. Now imagine the opposite. A mirror hangs beside a chaotic shelf or across from a constantly overflowing laundry pile. What are you telling yourself every time you pass it? Probably something like, I can't keep up, or there's always too much to do. Again, the mirror isn't the problem. It's what it's reflecting. This is why mirrors are considered one of the most energetically sensitive tools in space design. They don't just add light or make a room look bigger. They influence how energy moves, how it's held, and what gets magnified. So, how do you make the most of a mirror? Here are a few mindful suggestions. Reflect light, not clutter. Place mirrors where they bounce natural light into darker areas, not where they reflect busy or chaotic corners. Reflect intention. Let your mirror echo what you want to feel more of. Calm, clarity, beauty, abundance. Clean them regularly. A dirty mirror doesn't just look dull, it holds visual residue that subtly affects your clarity. Wipe them down with mindfulness. It's a ritual of renewal. Be aware of placement height. Hang mirrors at a level that allows you to see yourself fully and comfortably. Mirrors that cut you off at the forehead or neck, for example, can create fragmented or distorted energy. Ultimately, a mirror teaches us about perspective. It reflects without judgment. It amplifies without comment. It shows us both what we admire and what we might be avoiding. And in that way, it invites us to become more intentional, not just about our spaces, but about what we choose to see. So ask yourself, what is the mirror in your home reflecting back to you? Is it a sense of expansion? A vision of your future? A quiet reminder of beauty and peace? Or is it something you have outgrown, something that's ready to be shifted, moved, or released? Because once you place a mirror with intention, it stops being just an object and becomes an ally, a silent partner in your practice of clarity. And every time you catch your reflection in it, may it remind you the energy you choose to multiply is already within you. Section 3, Items for Personal Power and Mindset Shift. In the realm of personal energy and mindset, symbolic items can serve as more than just decoration. They become intentional tools that anchor us to our goals and reinforce a chosen frequency. Ancient coins, for example, are often mistaken for mere cultural artifacts. But when placed near bank statements, a budgeting area, or anywhere financial decisions are made, they become visual affirmations. They remind you that prosperity is built over time and must be held with focus and clarity. These coins don't bring money by magic. They keep your goals visible and tangible. Citrine stone offers a similar kind of support, but more on the emotional level. Known for its sunny hue and association with abundance, citrine is not a lucky charm, but rather a physical trigger for confidence. Holding it while journaling financial goals, setting intentions, or preparing for a business pitch can subtly shift your mindset from doubt to empowerment. It helps you embody a wealth-positive attitude, not by altering your fate, but by reinforcing belief in your capability. The rooster figurine, often seen in Feng Shui traditions, is less about folklore and more about posture. It symbolizes personal boldness, alertness, and the courage to speak up. Placing a rooster on your work desk or near your entryway, facing inward, is a symbolic reminder to stay assertive in your decisions and to show up with clarity and conviction. Then there are grounding elements like moringa leaves. Known as the miracle tree, moringa isn't just a superfood, it represents strength, protection, and health. Keeping a dried bundle near your front door or carrying a small piece in your wallet becomes a quiet declaration of inner stability. For a modern variation, herbs like sage or rosemary carry similar grounding energy, offering a protective and earthy presence wherever they're placed. Finally, we have the laughing Buddha, or more broadly, any object that evokes joy. This doesn't have to be tied to Buddhist tradition. It can be a smiling figurine, a photo of a loved one, or even a quirky item that lifts your mood. The point is emotional resonance. Placed near your entrance, such items set the tone for your home's energy. They remind you that joy is magnetic, that happiness, when invited deliberately, tends to multiply. Together, these 5 objects support a powerful mindset, one rooted in clarity, confidence, protection, and intentional joy. Used mindfully, they don't change your life. They help you stay aligned with the life you're consciously choosing to create. Final. As we wrap up, I hope you see that these 13 items are not about superstition or trend. They're not magic solutions, and they don't work in isolation. What they are reflections. Quiet, intentional symbols of what you value: growth, clarity, peace, abundance. When placed mindfully, these small objects begin to shift how you feel, how you think, and how you engage with your space. It's not the object itself, it's the energy and attention you bring to it. Over time, these subtle changes ripple outward. They influence your habits, your emotions, even your opportunities. Because Feng Shui, at its essence, is not about rules, it's about relationship. The relationship between you and your space, you and your energy, you and your goals. When your home supports your well-being, your mind can rest. When your space reflects clarity, so does your thinking. When your environment feels harmonious, your path forward often becomes clearer. So here's my gentle invitation for you. Choose just one of these ideas. Just one. Add it to your space this week, not with pressure, but with curiosity. And then observe. Notice how you feel. Notice what shifts, even slightly. Maybe your sleep feels deeper. Maybe your thoughts feel less scattered. Or maybe you just feel more grounded when you walk through the door. These are the quiet signs of realignment. And if you feel inspired, I would truly love to hear about your experience. Share in the comments. Which item are you drawn to? What does it symbolize for you? And what changes, no matter how small, have you noticed? And if this video brought you a moment of reflection or calm, I invite you to give it a like. Maybe share it with someone you care about. And if you'd like to keep exploring ways to live with more presence and intention, I warmly welcome you to subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. This channel is here to support your journey. One mindful step, one aligned space, one quiet shift at a time. Thank you for being here. I'm grateful to share this space with you.